The day of.
All right, Alana, be beautiful. You're in the main screen. You're not really, I'm kidding. It really is just me up here. Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I see a couple of you all have manuals, and oops, that wasn't a very good toss. There we go. How many of y'all have seen this material before?
Thank you for sending it to me.
Okay, yes. Some of you who've been doing open houses got preview copies. So hopefully after this session where we talk about it, it will make a lot more sense than when you just go through it by itself. So let's just go ahead and go through the manual page by page. And then, of course, in all these classes, anytime you want to go deeper on something or clarify something, we'll take as much time as we need to do that, okay? All right, so look with me at page 3. I want to start by kind of giving you the big picture, the landscape of where we're headed in this class and where this class fits within the operational model that we are teaching within this office. So first of all, the purpose of this class, to teach a proactive approach for effectively moving into relationships with people who are seeking to buy new homes. All right, you'll see we're very simple. The important words are underlined and highlighted. And what would that be in this purpose statement? Proactive. And what does proactive mean? As opposed to what? Okay, think of the opposite. What's the opposite of proactive? See, I'm glad we're having this discussion. Okay, proactive means productive activity. And the stress is upon taking the initiative as opposed to being passive. Okay, so the opposite of proactive is passive. Now, I passed this out a few days ago. Was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
Who was here yesterday and got one of these?
I did.
All right, Claudine, you're going to get one. Alana, you're going to get one. I wrote this last week in thinking about the impact that being proactive has upon a salesperson's career. And let me just read it to you again. Next week I won't have to read it because I'm internalizing it right now. But here goes the difference. The differentiating characteristic of successful people is their willingness to consistently open the door to new relationships. In this case, new relationships would be who? In this case, new relationships would be who? The people who walk through the door. My commitment to do so on a daily basis is my competitive advantage. The daily discipline, by the way, not just on Saturday and Sunday, okay? Because open house is just one source. But the daily discipline of proactively generating leads separates me from the pack, increases my lead, and guarantees my success. When encountering internal resistance, what does that mean? What's internal resistance? Yeah, this is scary. I don't want to do this. I don't feel like doing this. Negative things might happen. People might reject me. Well, internal is where we start self-talking ourselves out of it. Or external rejection, which is real. You know, some people are rude. You know, they blast right past us, and do their thing, and eat our meat, and, you know, don't even pay for it. Okay? When that happens, I ask for myself, who else in my market is doing this? No one. No one. Now, other people will do proactive activities. Let's acknowledge that. But on a spontaneous and sporadic basis. What we're coaching you in this office is to be proactive consistently on a daily basis. That a core value of your career role is to get up in the morning and generate business. Not just waiting for it to come to, not just waiting for a lead street lead to pop into the inbox or some random person to find your number and call you, but you're causing business to happen every day. If you do that, your success is guaranteed. Very, very, very few real estate agents will do that, including those in this office. And many of them in this office don't have to, okay, because they've been in the business long enough. They've got such a backlog of people who know them, like them, trust them, calling them, that they can fully satisfy their financial aspirations with a repeat and referral business, okay? Good for them, okay? But if you have aspirations beyond your current income level, and I think that would apply to everybody in this room, then you're going to have to be proactive, okay? Well, you're in the right class because open house is a proactive approach to generating leads, okay? You'll see that. It's not just waiting for those to come through the door. The expectation is that after this class, 90 minutes from now, you're going to be confident enough to go out and hold an effective open house. And I know some of y'all, have you done one yet, Maria? Okay, so everybody but Maria has done one. You're going to be ready, okay? I promise you that. Here's the result. A substantial increase in total revenue. And I'm going to break that down for you in a minute, and we'll fill in what substantial actually means for you. So here's the plan. And that plan relates directly to this operational model, which I think all of you have seen. But let me tie the two together. So the source of business that we're, oh, it doesn't show up on that screen, my little, see my little thing there? It disappears. Okay, there's 5 prospecting sources. Prospecting sources don't require a prior relationship. You can wake up every day and be proactive in these sources. One of them is open house, okay? So that's why open house is the only one that appears here. Now, prospecting sources generate 3 types of leads: new, referral, and repeat. Well, specifically in open house, we're looking for new leads, new relationships. Once we convert these leads, they're either going to be buyers or sellers. In this case, it's primarily buyers. Although I believe open houses can be a rich source of listings, and we'll get into that into the text, but primarily buyers. Once we have a buyer, we put them into our client care system, and I'm going to touch on that today. We're not going to go deep on it, but I'll touch on it. And then as a result of that, once we sell them a home, we can market that relationship. And there's 5 marketing sources: just listed, just sold, home ads, internet ads, and yard signs. Only one of these directly relates to a buyer who is closed, and that would be our just sold campaign. Okay? By the way, some of these things that I'm already talking about, client care system and just sold campaign, are not discussed in this class, and that's why we have down here related classes. Buyer conversion, pricing boot camp, and marketing boot camp. That's where we go deeper on a lot of these other issues that are touched upon. So you don't get the whole scoop to nuts in 90 minutes. You get very specifically an understanding of how to implement this strategy, label the looker. Okay, how to work the potential buyer into the open house space. Okay, that's what we're looking at. And then out of that relationship or conversation, other opportunities will arise, which will be discussed in other classes. Okay? Here's the summary. Open House Boot Camp teaches a very extensive, non-threatening approach, okay, so not high pressure, to conversing and following up with open house attendees. Associates are taught how to choose, promote, and hold an effective open house. In-home and follow-up scripts are discussed thoroughly. Plans, scripts, and tools are provided. Okay, that's where we're headed. Before we dig into it, any questions about that? Do you understand specifically the operational model as it relates to open house? Does that all make sense? Okay. All right, so let's talk about the financial consequences, because I just promised you a substantial increase in revenue. That's our expectation from implementing this strategy. So I want to walk through this with you so you understand it. You'll need a pen or pencil in just a moment to put in your numbers. But let's talk about this. We're going to assume for this consequences spreadsheet that you're going to work 45 weeks out of the year. Is that reasonable? You know, a couple weeks for vacation, holidays, sick days, visit kids at college. Okay, so 45. If your number's different, you can change it. But 45 is a fairly typical number. Open houses per week, 2. That could be 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, 1 on Wednesday, 1 on Friday. So we're not specifying when, but 2 for the week. So the total opens for the year are 90. Average number walking through an open house is 5. Those of you who've held an open house, is that a reasonable number? What was your number? 8, 0, so we're at 4. What did you all get at your last open house?
This weekend was bad.
This weekend was bad because school is
Yep, yep.
There was about 3. The first one, Saturday, was 0.
My Saturday would be
it is generally a good day, except school is starting on Monday for public and other schools.
Everybody was out shopping and getting ready. Yeah.
They don't have time to look at homes right now.
So in your extensive open house experience, other than the weekend, is 5 a reasonable number? Okay. All right. So very good. So the total talks, the total number of people you're going to talk to in the course of a year is 450. We're going to presume a set rate of 10%. And when I say set rate, I mean the percentage of people who walk through the door that you set an appointment with outside of the open house. 10%. Okay? So total sets are 45. The show-up rate for that appointment, 50%. We're expecting a pretty good washout rate. And you should always factor that into all financial planning. People don't always keep their word. They don't value your time like you value theirs, okay? So only 23 will show up. Of those 23, after meeting with us for a very proactive conversation about this relationship, about 45% of them will enter into a relationship with us that will result in a closed transaction, so 10. So out of this source, holding 2 open houses a week for 45 weeks, we can expect 10 transactions. What's an average commission rate in the homes that you've been holding open? Commission rate 3%. Average commission would be what? $200,000 house would be about $6,000. $400,000. So we're looking at $12,000 commission. So 10 times 12, I can do that in my head, that's $120,000. So we're looking at a 6-figure income just from holding 2 open houses a week for 45 weeks. Okay, that's pretty substantial. And that's not your only source of business. It's only one of the 5 prospecting sources and doesn't include the marketing sources. Okay? This also is at phase 1. And phase 1 is when you're just beginning your open house strategy. That means you're not particularly good at it. You can't be because you're just beginning, okay? So now phase 2 is when you are efficient, when you've done 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 open houses and you're doing them in quick succession so you're not losing your learning lessons and you're going into every one with a specific intent to get better, to master this strategy, then you can be at efficient phase within a couple months, within 2 or 3 months. It doesn't have to be a long process. And look what happens. Still the same 45 weeks, same 2 per week, 90 opens, still the same 5 people walking through, 450 total talks, but guess what's gone up? Your set rate. Now instead of 10%, because you're more confident with the dialogue, and you're better at reading people as they come in, asking the questions and labeling them, identifying where they're at and their motivation level, you're setting 15% instead of 10, okay? Your show-up rate is at 60% instead of 50, okay? So you're using better follow-up dialogue. You're stronger in setting the appointment and communicating why it is so important and helping them get the home they want and wanting the home that they get. So your conversion rate here is a little bit higher too. Once you actually start working with them, you're better at finding them the perfect home and having the financing in order, all the pieces in play. So the net result, with the same amount of input on the front end, now you're closing 23. Okay? 12 times 23, I'm not sure I can do that in my head, but it's going to be about $250,000. Is that right? That's about $250,000. That's pretty close. And then at proficiency level, this is where you've just internalized it, okay? You've probably been doing it for 9 to 12 months, consistently, 2 a week for a year. Man, at this point, you are what we would call unconsciously competent. Because you were very consciously competent here. I mean, you were working at it, okay? You were striving to get better and an intent to master this. You'll get to a point where, okay, I got it. I mean, I can tell the moment they walk in the door. In the other dialogues you're having with the neighbors, same input, 45 weeks to closing 41, okay? Now you're talking close to $500,000 a year. $500,000 just from this one source, okay? And these are conservative numbers. It just starts with converting 10% of those who walk in, okay? All right, so what I want you to do, put in your average GCI We were using 12,000 as an illustration, but go ahead and write in your number. It could be 12,000, it might be 6,000, it might be 5,000. Because I don't want this to be theoretical for you. I want it to be like, oh my goodness, I got to do this.
GCI stands for what?
Gross commission income. Great question. Best question yet. That's how much you gross off each deal, which typically you could just multiply the sale price by 3%. Yeah, that's when those phone calculators come in handy. Okay? So just do your average GCI, which will stay the same across the grid, but then multiply by the total closed to get your total income at each level of proficiency. Okay. By the way, every time we introduce you to a prospecting or marketing source, we're going to go through this exercise. So that once you identify which sources you're going to proactively work, and it's possible you could come out of this class saying, you know what, that's not me, I can't do that. I'm going to go work FSBOs, or I'm going to work network. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to work all 10 sources of business. In fact, getting started, you should choose to focus on one or two and really master those. Okay? All right, do you have your numbers? All right. Is that exciting to you? To see the potential? Is it believable to you? No. Alana says not believable. The dialogue with me about that. Is it just because the number looks so big? And is it because it looks too easy just to do this to generate that? Yeah. Okay, then I would encourage you just to go back and look at the numbers and say, is that realistic?
It is realistic. It's just, right now we don't see the end number being realistic.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm working with a few people that came through open houses.
Yes.
It takes a while to.
Yes, it does.
It does, yeah.
Number one. Number two is our issue right here is we are not rich on listings.
Yes.
Our open houses are coming from other agents.
Yes. Yes.
In this case, doing 45 weeks, possible.
Yes.
Doing 90 is close to impossible.
Yes.
Because there is not enough listings. And,
Yes.
we have been probably doing same listings a few times. And, you know, I mean, if the house doesn't sell, I'll love to do it again.
Yes.
If I know that there's people coming through it. But it's just doing 90 a year is close to impossible.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you, I think it's extremely doable. I have a little supplement I'm going to hand out. We're not going to go through the whole thing right now. By the way, there's a pretty picture that Sahir provided to us on there. This is a little supplement to the manual, but I want you to look at number 8 because that's the issue at hand right now. Number 8, when you can't find listing agents in office willing to let you hold their home open, go to local builders. In fact, I would start cultivating those relationships immediately. Most builders will have what's called spec homes, speculation homes that they build in anticipation of a buyer coming along and buying it. They're sometimes called inventory homes. And sometimes the builder will build them intentionally because sometimes buyers can't wait 6 months to build. They want a new home, but they need to move in 30 days. And so the builder will put some homes into production. Sometimes a buyer contracts to build a home and then the buyer busts out. And so the builder's left with a finished or near finished home to sell. And so most builders would be delighted for you to hold an open house on one of those homes. And they're all over the area in all price ranges. And if you develop a relationship with them, and I would have a very detailed conversation about how this is going to work. But for example, if a potential buyer goes through the model home first and then comes to you, is the builder going to pay you if they buy that inventory home or not? Is that excluded? That they have to come through your open house first and you register them and then they go over to the model home. So those are kind of issues that need to be worked out. But I began my real estate career in new home sales, and I can tell you builders would be delighted for you to do that. They might even provide the meat and the cheese, okay, and the juice. And you tell them, I'm gonna put out 20 directional signs. I'm gonna put an 8-foot cold air balloon at the neighborhood entrance and in your property, in the front yard. I'm gonna be here high traffic times, 2 to 4, 2 to 5, whatever it is. You could, part of the beauty of that is the builder is promoting your open house. He's drawing people to the neighborhood, and if you've got your directionals up front, a lot of people coming in because of the builder's promotion will go first to your open house. That feels a lot less pressure than a model home to a lot of potential buyers. Okay? You can do that all the time. All the time. Okay, so let's keep rolling here. Here's the open house plan. We have talked previously about the no, do, have. In fact, last week I rolled out blank samples and I promised you that with every prospecting source we would give you an actual no, do, have. So here it is. So we're prospecting right here. What source are we looking at? The open house. Within open house, what strategy are we employing? We're employing a strategy called Label the Looker method. Now, there's 100 open house strategies. You can Google them. You can go to Active Rain. You can go to Remax Main Street. Lots of different approaches, and guess what? They all work, okay? But we're going to specifically teach one strategy so that we're all on the same page. We can network with each other and say, well, how did this work for you? How did that dialogue work? How did the follow-up work? How did the door knock campaign work? And so that you can come back 3 months from now when we offer this class again. Having implemented it 10 or 12 times between now and then, when you come back and sit through the same class, you're going to hear things totally differently, different perspective, and your perspective will enrich the whole class, and you'll go deeper on that path to mastery, moving from consistency to efficiency to proficiency, from 10 closings out of this source to 20 closings to 40 closings, okay? So what do you have to know? This is the do, label the looker. What do you have to know? Welcoming dialogue, labeling dialogue, follow-up dialogue, justification dialogue, all of that's in this manual. Okay, so we're providing that to you. What do you have to have? A call list for follow-up. That's your registration form. Okay, directional signs, time sign, which we'll explain what that is, a guest register, home criteria sheet, clipboard, MLS printout, tax information, pricing tools, and thank you notes. Most of that we're providing you here in class. Some of that, like the directional signs, thank you notes, obviously you need to provide, but they're available anywhere. Okay, so that's it. And the reason we provide this is as a focusing tool, because when you're starting a new prospecting source, implementing a new strategy, it can be overwhelming. You're like, oh, there's 16 million things I have to do to get this thing going. Well, not really, just this. That's it right there. And I would add an 8-foot cold air balloon on the have, okay? And our office has one.
Really?
Yeah, you don't have to buy it. Just borrow it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, but if you're doing this twice a week, I'd buy your own. I would buy a couple of them, and they're only about $200.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
The cold air balloon for the builders
Yes.
in houses?
Yes.
I know I was told if a builder puts up signs in the Woodlands area,
Uh-huh.
they'll take them down. If you have one of those, wouldn't they just take it?
Your cold air balloon?
Yeah.
Well, I would check. I wouldn't risk that.
I started saying, Lisa does little signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$20 sign for a
Right.
$1,500 cold air balloon.
At a minimum, if you're in the Woodlands, you could put it in the front yard. They're not going to steal that. They'll probably be okay with it. But if they're not, they'll at least have you take it down. They're not going to take it. But outside the Woodlands, and there's plenty of nice home building going on all around the Woodlands, probably won't be an issue.
They leave them on.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
okay.
I haven't seen a cold air balloon yet. So.
Yeah, think outside the Woodlands just a little bit, because there are some really nice properties being built within 10 miles of where we're sitting right now. Okay, very nice. All
I
right.
think we're having to with our inventory so low here.
Yes.
Having to think outside the woodlands.
Well, you need to get familiar with the inventory outside the Woodlands, because not everybody who comes thinking they're going to buy in the Woodlands is going to buy in the Woodlands.
And a lot of people, they don't want to, well, that I'm running into, they're tired of realtors saying, pushing them towards the Woodlands
Yes,
area.
yes.
They're like, I just want to hear the truth. Like, where else? I'm like, there's plenty of other places.
Plenty.
There-
Yes, there are.
beautiful homes.
Beautiful neighborhoods.
And they, exactly.
Beautiful amenities.
And they don't know because the realtors are like, Woodlands.
Yes.
And they're like, well, you know what? I'm going to use you because you're the first realtor that hasn't bugged me to go
Yes.
to Woodlands.
Yes.
She's like, you're honest. And I was like,
There you go.
oh.
Okay, terrific. All right, so let's keep moving through here. Attitude check. Okay, we talked about this. Dee Dee? Oh, let's go back. Yes.
Before, I don't know if we're going to get into that, the attitude check. This dialogue, are we going to go over labeling the labeling dialogue, all of this stuff?
Those words will come out of your mouth before you leave this room. Yes, I just warned you. Role play is coming.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Okay. All right, so attitude check. We talked extensively over the last 2 weeks about the importance of beliefs and our thoughts, and that we have to be thinking right if we're going to be behaving right. We won't be able to maintain consistent proactive behavior if it's not being driven by proper beliefs. So here's some of the beliefs that are particularly relevant to an open house strategy. The ones that are particularly relevant are bolded. So under core entrepreneurial beliefs, I live in a world of abundance. My only limit is time. Focus is the key to success. I reap what I sow. Duplicable processes and systems guarantee results. It's unacceptable for my business to earn zero. It's win-win or no deal. So just on those core entrepreneurial beliefs, are there any of those that don't really make sense to you or that you'd like a little clarification on? You got that? Do you know how these relate to open houses? The open house strategy? No. Okay, pick one, Alana. We'll talk about it.
My only limit is time.
Okay, great. So how many hours do we have in a day? 24, right. $1 million producers have how many hours? 24, right. Okay, the average realtor in America, I shared that with you last week, in 2012, made $34,000. That's unacceptable, yes. So they both have 24 hours. That's their only limitation, but they're clearly doing something different within those 24 hours. And what I would identify as the key difference is the willingness to be proactive. Open house is a proactive source. And so those who are producing at a very high level have a strategy, they have a plan that they're working and mastering. And so within the 24 hours that you have, and let's say on a Sunday, 3 hours or 4 hours you're going to devote to an open house, doesn't it make sense to get the maximum value out of that time commitment that you possibly could? Just to be very proactive and intentional about everything you do, about the preparation, about the promotion, about the dialogue when people come through, about the follow-up, so that you don't just get 1 out of 100 to the closing table, but initially you're getting 10 or 12, and then ultimately considerably more than that. Okay? Real estate beliefs, just about all of these apply. And then buyer beliefs, because we're primarily focusing on buyers. Time reveals all. Motivated, qualified, and loyal people buy homes. Having a process reduces the risk that comes with buyers. Ooh, that might be one we want to talk about. If they won't meet me, they are not a buyer. And A buyers deserve my immediate time and attention. Which one of these do you want to go deeper on? Having a process reduces the risk that comes with buyers. First of all, let's identify the risk. What is the risk that comes with buyers? It relates directly to what Alana pointed out. That's right. Time is limited, and buyers can suck time like nobody's business. And so you have to have a specific process that you put buyers through, potential buyers, to determine whether they are motivated, qualified, and loyal.
And I have a question
Yeah.
They can come later.
Yeah.
But, no, not number 4, number 3, having a process. I actually had the opposite problems. I lost a couple of open house visitors.
Yes.
i.e., I didn't know where they were in the home.
Uh-huh.
I didn't see when they left. I had one group that I was talking to as another couple who looks like they could have been like really interested.
Right.
But how do you have a process? You don't want to follow people around.
Yes.
But I was talking to one couple while another couple walked
Yeah.
in, grabbed the information and left before I
Yes.
was able to say hello to them.
Okay.
And then one lady and her child, I don't know where they disappeared to. I saw them come in.
Yes.
So how do you?
Okay, that is,
What's the process?
yes, that is a huge part of what we talk about when we get into it. So I promise you that will be identified for you. And how you handle multiples coming in at once, how you don't lose them as they're scooting out the door, all that we'll talk about. Okay? Okay. Maria? Which one do you want to talk about? Buyer beliefs.
A buyer deserves more immediate time and attention.
Yeah, okay, it's
A buyer.
A buyers.
A buyer.
And an A buyer is the one that we identify as motivated, qualified, and loyal. They have to be 3 out of 3 to qualify as an A buyer. And the point here is, if we are spending time with B buyers, which is 2 out of 3, or C buyers, 1 out of 3, or D buyers, none out of 3, we should call them F buyers, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
F buyers.
D for don't.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Okay, or D for dumb if we're doing it right. But because time is limited, if we're giving our time to B, C, and D buyers, we don't have time and energy and attention to give to our A buyers. So that's why we have to be intentional about delegating off or firing potential buyers who don't meet our criteria.
Like she said, if you have an A buyer come by, but you're busy talking to the B buyer.
Yes.
How do you?
There's a process for that, okay? We'll get into it, okay? All right, so let's keep rolling here. Holding an effective open house, there's 3 components, and they're identified in bold. Selecting the right property, preparing for the right property, and then implementing. Okay, so let's talk through this. Selection. The home that you hold open should be priced according to your goals. Well, what does that mean? Okay, you did your financial projections, right? Your financial consequences sheet based upon an anticipated average sale price, right? $400,000 or something else. Let's just say it's $400,000. Should you then go hold open a $200,000 house? No, because that will not meet your goals, okay? So now you've doubled the number of closings you have to hit your financial targets, so you're not holding 90 open houses, you're holding 180, okay? Consequences.
I mean, not all open houses are going to be within your limit. That's the thing. That's your average is probably the number that we put in.
Yes.
Will probably be our average.
They won't all be $399. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly right.
I mean, maybe a little higher or lower, but like your open house.
Like I would hold a 200,000 max.
But your
to
house
balance
would make,
it.
I would be intimidated at that level as a new agent, just because there again, that has certain amenities and things that a certain buyer and that I'm intimidated.
That you're
by.
uncomfortable with. Yeah, and eventually you want to address that. But initially, while you're in phase 1,
I'm getting my feet under the bus.
just go do it.
I didn't find
Just go do
those
it.
I mean, they probably, the people who came in or the people who were asking questions, I thought it was gonna be, a certain type of clientele and they would be, now there were probably 2 that asked me very detailed questions that I was like, luckily I kind of had the sheet and I had looked over.
Mhm.
So I knew the answers really quickly, but the other ones were kind of really
A lot of them just
like
are
normal people.
home people. They just want to look at homes.
Yeah.
They're not looking for. They're definitely not going to pay 1.2 million on that home.
Right.
They just want to
Yeah.
see what all the fuss is about.
See what a 1.2 million home looks like.
The
Well, they're-
expensive homes, that's what they deal with, the expensive homes.
Yes.
If they like it, they can't buy it.
They
They
can't.
don't like it, that's the people that
Can't
can buy
buy
it.
it.
Yes.
Because if you like.
They're
a home,
pickier.
That's why I say that couple that I missed out on, they It was
probably
obviously
didn't
a
like
young
it.
couple. They didn't like that house, but they were
You
that
could've had
couple
some.
that I wanted. Like, and
Yes.
I saw them, and I was busy wasting my time with the Denver.
Right.
But I still feel like these Denver people are probably one of those people that have the income, but
Yes.
they're like Denver hippies.
Right.
They probably want to
Right.
buy a
Yeah, don't judge.
$100,000 home.
Uh,
rather
They,
than
they
No,
might,
they
but
want
don't.
land.
Yeah.
land instead.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, they want. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, where's that? Okay, high traffic area. Okay, you don't want to be hidden away in a cul-de-sac, particularly in the Woodlands, without a lot of directional signs where nobody can find you. So pick one that's priced according to your goals, as high visibility, high traffic as possible, and then shows well inside and out. And by the way, which of those might be more important? No. Shows well inside or out. Inside or out, which is more important? The outside initially, because the inside might be spectacular, but if it doesn't have curb appeal, a lot of people, if my wife's in the car, we're slowing down, but we're not stopping. She sizes up a home really fast from the outside, and a lot of people do that. Okay, so be particular. This is part of time is limited. Let's be very intentional. Let's pick a home that's going to attract people and draw them inside.
Qualify for this selecting of the homes because, like we said, we don't really have options like that.
Okay, okay, so if you only have one choice, take it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's your best choice.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah. However, what I'm saying is we live in a world of abundance, and there's probably a lot more options out there than you're thinking right now. So yes, work the agents in the office.
Yeah, once you build relationships, like we get a lot of the agents, Quentin, do you want to do open house this weekend? You and Sahar, do you? Oh, I have the house I'm going to put on the market next week. You guys want to do it? You have to build the relationship. They're not going to trust you if they don't know you. You
Yeah.
have to go bug them. Say, hey, I'm here. You know, how are you doing
Yeah.
today? You want to go grab coffee maybe at lunch? You guys want to